How's it going, YouTube? It's Panda time. In this video we have myself playing X-Antibody, one of my favorite decks for the BT7 format, going up against the Imperial / green hybrid kind of deck, which people have been playing, and it's kind of cool. I never really liked Imperial that much. I'm actually kind of a hater when it comes to it, but you know, people like it for some reason. We have a pretty good start with the Luisthepanda and Black Mirror Boost, picking up what I believe is the Judge Dark Tyrannomon, right? Get some nice cheap Digivolution cost. I do still love the 1 cost blockers. I know that blockers are not the best this format, but I'm a fan of the cards. You can go into a Doro Gray, and even though we get the memory back, you know, the Ken is gonna mitigate that, but it's nice to get the extra Doro in there just in case. Now he does have the Milk Betamon, so he could memory choke me to 1, lock me out from using the memory boost, and then, you know, essentially slow me down tremendously. However, he chooses to go into the Stingmon instead, which means that next turn we'll be guaranteed 3 memory and be able to go into level 6 right away. So I don't know if that's necessarily correct. He's playing the dual tamer, the Issy and Mimi, which is actually pretty good. As far as like dual tamers that are hard to play around, I think that one is actually super tough to play around. So I am a fan of the card. So I guess we're debating whether we are going to use the memory boost or not. Gonna just hold it for now. Gonna go into the Alphamon. Now in BT7, once you go into Alphamon, you can't really put any more sources under. We do pay extra DP in case we hit into an Imperial. Plus we want to be 13k so that we get the Sunrisa extra check. And then the Alphamon end of attack, we get the extra memory back anyway. We can then use the memory boost to go to Sword and memory choke him to 1. However, because of the dual tamer, he does go to 3 anyway. So I'd say overall pretty solid. There's definitely an argument to be made whether going into the Sword is worth it or not. You know, the Alpha one was super powerful. He was going to be doing, you know, 2 more checks, and it has that sweet effect anyway. But you know, if I don't memory choke him, then he goes to 5. And then, I don't know, it's kind of scary. I feel like Alphamon did 3 checks and that's good enough. And then we can probably just close the game out with Sword defeat. At least that's my thought process. This time around we have 3 memory to work with. The Imperial is kind of annoying, but he lives to standing up, you know, so that we can't just swing over it. He does still have 2 tamers. And the idea here is like, okay, can we play around the Issy and Mimi? So my thought process is like, oh, let me use the reboot so that I can swing, and then he won't be able to get the memory, right? We're gonna try and memory choke him and try and play around it. However, that's not how that actually works. What happens is that reboot happens at the unsuspend phase, which is after the start of turn for the opponent, right? Meaning that the Issy and Mimi happens first, and then reboot happens after, so he does get extra memory. So because of this, it's actually a misplay on my part. If we're gonna pass over the memory for the Issy and Mimi, then that means that we also should have someone with the Sword defeat to put him to 0 security so that we can end the game next turn, right? So definitely a misplay on my part, but I did call out the correct Issy and Mimi memory game, so at least I feel good about that. You know, Digimon is a pretty simple game for the most part, but sometimes there's some interactions, some intricacies that are kind of tough, and you know, I am a Digimon judge, so I try to do my best to, you know, uphold the law, I guess. And in this case, you know, knowing the correct interaction actually hurt me in the game. However, it's still the correct thing to do to, you know, let the game go the correct state. Anyway, so he does have the extra memory to work with. He's got Imperial that could swing multiple times, and Beetlemon, plus the Issy to work with as well. So we're actually in a bit of a tough situation. Like I said, I should have swung with the Sword defeat so that he'd be at no security, but I didn't, which was definitely a misplay. He can then suspend my blocker, suspend the Sunrisa, and then just, I guess, swing with everything, right? So it's cool when the Imperial deck actually pops off. You know, I like the idea of everything it can do. Imperial package plus the, you know, the hybrids. The green hybrids are pretty solid, and I guess people try to make them work with just a little bit of everything. It is kind of splashable. Double tropical venom. That poor Sunrisa is gonna die and pass over a bunch of memory. It's not the JP, so he's not gonna get the piercing, but he does get quite a bit of memory. And I mean, at this point, he just has so much to work with. We just have a sword to feed. I don't have a tamer or anything like that. And because I didn't swing last turn, which again was definitely a misplay, I can't win the game next turn, right? So I think from this position, all he has to do is set me to 1. And next turn, he should have more than enough swings to close the game out. We could maybe try and Super Gun Punch the sword to feed to get a big blocker out. But you know, they can always suspend it, and JP means that even if I put him to 1, he can still go into a hybrid after. So we can at least punch the beetle, but that means that we're not going for game anymore, right? We switched from trying to win to like now we're trying to avoid losing, which is not the ideal scenario. So like I was saying, not attacking that previous turn essentially cost me the game here, as this turn we could have swung for game with the sword defeat. But you know, it is what it is, and sometimes we learn from our mistakes, right? We play Coda, which is gonna bottom deck the Grumble, the classic. So again, I could try and memory choke him to 1, but I mean, it's just too many swings. He's got the JP as well, right? Plus everything's swinging with jamming. Yeah, Imperial swings, he gets the restand, gets a bunch of card draw, and then JP means he can hybrid for game. So a pretty solid game 1. We built a pretty solid Alphamon, and then immediately cashed it into a sword defeat. So when I look back at this game, I wonder, like, you know, was the sword defeat ultimately worth it? I feel like it's still a solid play, but then I misplayed against the dual tamer, which did cost me the game. Now going into game 2 here, we also didn't see the Dorogoromon this time around. It was just the Alphamon. I find it funny that like in BT7, Dorogora is like the level 6 that shines, and then as we get more and more X-Antibody cards, he will shine less and less. Like in BT8, you might play it as a 1-off, maybe a 2-off if you're crazy, and then by BT9, you will probably never ever see him again, right? Obviously, Alphamon is the much cooler Royal Knight. Or I guess X-Antibody, because Dorogora is not a Royal Knight, right? I don't think he is. Okay, anyway, going into game 2 here, we're gonna see if I'm going first or not. The Imperial can still be super scary, and I know the BTA one is gonna be terrifying. I wonder if that's gonna be the best deck of the format. Let me know what you guys feel in the comments. You know, we're getting close to BT8, hang in there, we just have like 2 more weeks. Do you guys think Imperial is gonna be the best deck of the format? Okay, so he starts with the XB, putting me to 2. We can use the Tankmon. So you see in my X-Antibody build, I really value the cheap Digivolution cost. I play a bunch of the 1 cost, and then we play more Montamon. I do play a 1 of Gogmamon, mainly because I have the Event Pack 2 one, so it's cool. I like Altar and Cena. It's an okay card. It's not the greatest energy with the deck, and it's one of those things that, like, yeah, as soon as we get the second X-Antibody, he's definitely getting cut. But you know, sometimes he puts in work. With this line of play, he Davis, but you know, he didn't get any restand or anything like that. So his XP one is just getting, you know, punched out. And we have our own Coda to ensure that we can go into a level 6 next turn. So I'd say we're in a pretty solid spot. He has to like start rebuilding from scratch. He doesn't have any green tamers developed just yet. There's the JP, and he's gonna have to pass over memory, so he's gonna just hard play the Beamon. Now if we have the Dorogoromon, we could just clear out the Beamon for free anyway, so that Beamon doesn't do too much. It can be hard to hard play stuff against X-Antibody when they can just, you know, clean up. Yeah, so we get, you know, the card draw from the baby, and then it's gonna be 2 checks at 50,000 DP. He'll never die or anything. Hard drop in Mechanorimon. I think I play Mechanori as a 1-off in this build, and it can be a good way to stop the chip damage from, like, you know, the jamming Beamons, things like that. You know, his deck has so much to spend that probably is not going to do too much, but he doesn't want to come out of racing knowing that he's going to get blown up, so he's just going to go wide with Tamers instead. But this time around, the Dorogora can swing for 3 checks, and then I guess we just have game, right? So his first stack didn't do anything. It just got chip damage and then immediately got ran over. and then he just wasn't able to build a second stack, right? This is one of the cases where you could see that the two engines in his deck were not really going well together, as you know, the green tamers did not really amount to anything, and then the blue stack couldn't be built either, right? So as you play these decks that oftentimes fit two different engines together, sometimes it flows well and it just feels super awesome, and then you get the games where like they just don't go well together, right? I think as BT8 happens, we're gonna get a lot more diversity in deck building, because the dual color cards are going to really open up, you know, options of what you could do and how you could build decks. And as someone who likes deck building, I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be great. I want to see, you know, what creative things people can come up with. Already in BT7 we see people, you know, getting tired of the format and trying out crazy stuff. I think BT8 is going to be way more diverse, and it should be a lot of fun, so I really cannot wait. And obviously we're still pumping out the BT7 content, but I definitely want to show you guys some BT8 content in the future as well. Okay, we open with a Toyagumon into a Coda. Pretty basic opener, right? Rookie into a memory fixer. Just pretty solid overall. He goes into a Beetle right away for this cycle. Again, JP really good for the reduced memory cost. But if he doesn't have a memory fixer here, like the Ken or the Davis, I was gonna say then we might be able to memory choke him. Davis in this deck could be potentially, you know, add in 2, but he doesn't hit a green Digimon. We do have 4 memory to work with though, and because we play Warumontamon, we're able to go into a level 6 right away. So there is like one of the cases where the Warumontamon is super strong. Any other level 5 there would have, you know, put him to 1, essentially cost me an extra 2 memory and just pass turn. But Warumonta being so efficient lets us go into a level 6 right away. So I wanted to realize like how big of a difference that is and why the Warumonta can be absolutely insane. So at this point he decides to go aggressive, just swing, gonna perhaps try and go wide. However, going wide is actually just terrible against the Dorgoromons. So I think this is definitely a mistake. Essentially plays 2 rookies that we can just kill for free, and I don't have to swing at security, we just go for the full board clear. If he had green tamers, that definitely would have been the play instead. Maybe he didn't, at which point trying to build into a stack that couldn't be blown up by Dorogoro might have been better. But with his line of play, we just fully clear the board, and even though he got early chip damage, at this point, you know, the Dorogora plus a level 5 in the back, we're definitely set up to win this game. Paildramon into Imperial could still be super scary, so I guess there's still that to worry about. I don't know if his deck runs Blitz Omni, but if I had to guess, there's no room for that, right? We have a second Dorogora. I have to be careful because I might not have enough X-Antibodies in hand to put under as sources for the effect. You know, again, as we go into BT8, we'll have more X-Antibodies and the problem shouldn't happen. But right now, sometimes you just don't have those cards. So you'll have rookies and champions and ultimates that just are not X-Antibodies, right? Still swinging for the double check though, and now with the Dorgoras, we could definitely win any sort of raise. We also have the memory boost to try and get some extra memory. I think the idea is that we're gonna just play a blocker for safety. Although I do have to put him over at 4 memory, which is, you know, 1 more than Davis would have given me. But we do get a blocker, which hopefully is enough to keep us alive though. Like I said though, Paildramon to Imperial, pretty scary combo, but I mean, that's only 3 swings and we have a blocker. He tries to Tropical Venom, but he doesn't actually have a green card in place, so that is an illegal move and he cannot do that. Gonna swing. We don't block here. In this case, I don't think you block until it's gonna be going for a game, right? You never know what might be in security. Brave Metal would clear. So has to hard play JP. So now we could play Tropical Venom, but it's too little too late at this point, right? So we rolled to build 2 big stacks, and I think this game here, the Warumontamon was a huge MVP. Even though he was only in play for like a second, he let me go into a level 6 right away, which ultimately made a huge difference. Now we can Dorogora, can pop his board, swing for a couple checks, and that's gonna be GG. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Thanks for watching.